Um, yeah. So similarly, like we have some standard objects mostly we'll use in a development side. But here we don't need to worry about those. So everything we are looking at on a configuration level only. So okay, so we have created a one sharing rule. Even though if we create sharing rule also, it will take some time to calculate and share the records. So whatever, if you create a sharing rule and you have option to recalculate the sharing rule also. Like if you feel like it is not working correctly, you want to recalculate it, you can still do that so that you will get an email once the job is done. Okay, based on your data, it will take some time, not hours, but it will be very quick only usually. Okay, so now we have a owner
Follow
based.
on.
Yeah.
So the email, I mean, the person who made the changes, he will get the email, or all the row, I mean, the sales reps.
No, they will not get, only admin who are making the changes, only they will know whether this water the change you made, whether it's done or not. Okay, so see here, you can see like to whom it has sent. So I made the changes. So it will pick up my email and it will notify. Everybody will not know. The end users, they will not notify any of these emails. Only the admin who is making those changes, only those will be notified that you made this change, so your job is done. Okay, so moving on. Next one is a criteria based sharing. So what is the criteria? So I don't have a in my organization, I don't have any roles, and I use still um, I want to share based on my criteria, like based on region. So if the any of the address field or like any of the like industry field, whatever different data, based on my data, I want to share the records. Let's say, so we have a mm, yeah, we have so many fields, right? Let's say I want to share based on a number of employees. If the employees are more than 100 in a project, I want to share with the lead. If the number of employees are less than 100, I want to share with the rep. Or if CAGR growth is something around more than 50, I want to show with some share with some like managers directly. If it's a less than reps can handle, or like anything called a city. If it is from region specific reps you have, then you need to look at like which city they belong to. If the state is something, then share with the this rep, region based rep. If if a state is a different, then share with a different rep. Like this also we can do based on a record data. So what are the field you want to pick? You can pick that or like technology wise or based on any number of field. You can do that as a criteria. It's not only one field, you can add like multiple fields also. If a number of employees are more than this, and if you belong to a specific region, if both are met, then share this records with some group. Like it could be a role or group or a specific user also. You can do that. Just we will write one more rule and let's see how it works. Mm, region. Database sharing with the state and city. So I'm going to use a based on criteria. So I'm going to use my state, and state should be equal to something. You can pick multiple also. If it is AP, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka. maybe Tamil Nadu, Telangana. Okay, and if the city is equal to, what are the values we have? And then share with the public or a role called a sales manager. And I want to do it as a read only and do a okay. You can sharing the access will continue in the background. You will receive email notification upon completion. You want to continue. Okay. So then I have one more criteria based, one more role based on a criteria, so that to whom you're going to share. So you will see high level what it's going to be, and you can edit. So even though if you edit also, it will again recalculate and send the emails. Okay. So that's how it work. And just I'm seeing here. So there are some more data it created. So it created three more, because what are all the records matching that criteria, it will share those records. So only it have a three records that are matching the what are the criteria is selected, and it's also based on rule. If you observe here, previously when I give a read and write, it's edit. When I give only read, it's going to be a access as a read only. Okay, so this is how we are going to share the records with the using a sharing rules. So apart from this, there are a concept called Apex sharing, but we are not going to discuss that here. Why? Because it's a development part. So, but there is another option also where we can share the records from the code also. Basically, what we do is, so we have this object called like a share object, right? We'll create the records in this object from a backend. From the code, you'll create a records. So you have to know what is the role ID or group ID, everything you have to query, and then so which records you have to give it as a parent ID, group ID, and what is the access level, what is your row cost. So everything you have to give and save the records in a share object, so that it will be shared with that whatever the records you have created. But we do it on a core. Just once you know the record, how to create a record from backend, that's all you will know how to do a sharing. So that's all here for sharing rules and how to do sharing records of the different owners in org. Now we're going. So if you have any questions, let me ask. Otherwise, we're going to fill this table. How, if it is a object level access, and how it's OWD, how the ownership, what is the final output of the users they will get. Are we good? Can we start this exercise? Hello, everybody can hear me?
Yes, Baba.
Okay.
Yes, Bala.
Okay. I'm just taking this. So what we're going to do was, so if the object level security, what will be the object level security? You have a read, write, edit, delete, view all, modify all. This is what's the all possible scenario. So what we're going to do was, um, so we are going to give one by one. If you give a read, or like if you give no access, and what happens if it is a different um, different access of the OWD owner manager, then what will happen? What will the result of it? Okay, so First thing was you have not given any access. Okay, either to the profile or permission set, you have not given any access. And OWD, so what are all the possible OWD we have? Private and owner. Yes, you are the owner. And manager. So you are the owner. So I'm not checking the manager one. And role grant access hierarchy. You are selected as a not. You are not selected. Okay. No means you have not enabled the grant access using role hierarchy. If yes, that means you enable. And manual sharing, you don't have any manual sharing. And you don't have any sharing rules. Okay. So now, what will be the result because of this? So for now, just ignore this part. Okay. First, try to focus on the record level security. Okay. So when this is a private, only owner can access. When you don't have enabled any of these rules, what will be the result is only owner can have access. But what happened? Your on your profile, final result, record security. Only owner can have the access. But as per the record level security, only owner can have the access. But what happens in the object level, you have not given access to the user. So because of that, they will not be able to access the record. So I'm just arranging so that you can see all the things. Final is going to be a no access. Even though you configure a record level security such a way that at least the owner can access it. Okay, so you may have a question. So even though if they don't have access, how they become an owner? Somebody else made them as an owner. What is it possible? Even though you don't have a access on that object, somebody else created for you and made you as a owner. For others, it looks like you might already having access to it, but in actual, because you don't have access to the object at the object level, you are not able to access it. Okay, so now
So no access for that record or no access for that object.
what it is,
I mean,
so they don't know,
okay,
they don't access the object means they don't access the record as well, right? So if
okay.
they see the object, then only they can access anything. Even though they are the owners, usually they get access based on record level security because they don't have access to object itself. They are not able to access the records. Once they have at least a read access, then only they're going to they're going to have this one. So a theme was first you need at least a minimum access to it. Then only you can read. O- When they're saying only owner can have a again read access here. Here I'm not mentioning anything. Why? Because this access will be controlled based on your profile. Because you are owner, usually you will get a full access. But yeah, here also I will not confuse. So you have access. So what is the level of access because of your profile security? Owner will have only owner can have only read access, not the full access, because you have only read permission on your object level. So in your object level, sorry, in your object level, when you have a read and write, and with the same set of OWD and all, you're going to have a read and write access on your own records. Okay. Now, when you have a read, write, delete access, because you are the owner, you are supposed to get all this access. But that is also dependent on your profile permission or profile or object level security also, it depends. So that's why it is dependent. Okay, so you're going to have a all access here. Now, if you have a read, okay, I gave a wrong one here. Create, read, write or read, both are same, right? Okay,
Here, I have one question.
yeah.
Here, in case of read or edit, if they want to delete, how they will do here? If after they edit something
No, we have a delete,
here
delete.
in the fifth
19
one,
hours.
In fifth one, okay.
yeah, if they done edit, if they want to delete or something, they can't
Mhm.
do it. Is there
You
any
can,
way there
no, you
others
can
can?
run. Now, here, like we are going to the all scenarios. So this scenario is only you are the owner of the record. And if you have a different level of object level access. So if you don't have object level access, even though you are owner of the record, you cannot access it. If you have a read access, then only at least you can see that record. And if you have a read and edit permission, then only
Oh,
you see and edit the record. And how you delete? So delete can be possible with the delete button. So if you see the delete button, then only you can delete, right?
yeah.
Mm. So
So here, if they want, okay, so they need delete access also. So in if they want to delete anything.
yes, yes. If they want to delete means they should have a delete permission on that object, first of all. Then only they can delete any,
So
even though,
here they can only read and edit, so they cannot delete here in the
yeah,
fifth point.
yes,
Oh,
yes, they can read or edit, that's it.
okay. So okay. Hmm.
So here, uh, create is nothing to do with the record access. So when they're saying a create, or if you only having a create permission also, that doesn't mean that they're going to read it. And on top of it, and create new records. That's it. Nothing to do with the current record. So what we're doing here, we are looking at they have one record and what will be the access of that record. If they have a create, nothing will change. They can create a new record. That's it. Nothing else will happen if you have a create permission. Create is just a permission to see the new button and save the record. Only for the two purpose only, the create will help. Let's say if you only having a create permission and you don't have any of this any of the other permissions. Everything will be same. What will happen? What will happen is no access to the record, but they can create new records. Okay, so we are talking about a specific record. If they are the owner of that record, but they have just a create access, with that create access, they cannot read that access. So they finally they don't have access to it. But what they can do, they can create one more record. Okay, create means just creating records, nothing to do with the security, record level security. Even they created it because they are the owner of it. So once they create, they become an owner, right? They have this all the privileges, but still what will happen? They cannot see the records. Even though they created, after they create, once they save, if they go to the list, they cannot see the records. Why? Because they don't have privileges to see the object itself. Read means they, first of all they have to see it. That access is not there for them. Does it make sense, or it could be a clumsy one? Let's try to understand. So consider create as a permission. Only they can create the records, but they cannot read or write, edit anything. Even though they create, they cannot see it. That's it.
Okay, bro,
Even
it's clear.
even though they are the owner, it will not be visible. Once they save, that's it. Boom, it's gone. Okay, so if they want to see the record, first of all, they should have a read access. Then only they can visualize the record. Okay, create permission is just a permission. That's it. Nothing to do with the record level. Now, what will happen? Same on the private. You are the owner and you are going to make the grant access using a hierarchy. Just I'm making all these scenarios repeated. Okay, all this it's going to be still a private, and you are the owner, yes, and you have a manager, you have a manager, yes I have, and you have a role hierarchy, yes I have, and you don't have a sharing again. Okay, so what will happen here? Who will have the access usually when you grant access using hierarchy and the owner has a manager? Then what will happen is owner and managers will have access. So this access going to be a common based on your record level security thing is same. So your record level security outcome will be same, but it will be dependent on your managers and yours security over here. So what happened was because you don't have access, you don't have. So what I'm doing here was final result of owner, final result of manager. So you don't have access, and considering same profile access or like same object level security is given to the manager as well. Okay, so manager will also not have access if same as a profile. And why? Because you don't have access, manager will also not having access. Then you have a read access, so you can read because you are reading the access. So owner, sorry, manager will also have a read access. Why? Because whatever the level of access you have, manager will also have the same level of access when you and you grant access using hierarchy. Whatever access you have, same will be applied to the manager. So miss something here. 1, 2, 3, 6. Okay, I'll just make it as a. So here, when we having a create things, we are not talking about a manager permissions here. Okay, so managers will not, because they have a object level permission as a create. Manager is not getting that create access. Why? Because this is going to object level permission of that that will be decided based on object level permission of the manager. Okay, even though the rep is having a create permission, manager will not get the create permission. They are only going to copy the rights of the record using the grant level access of the records. That's what they're granted because they are managers, not the permissions. Permissions to create the record. They can create the record. So here it's going to be a no access for them because they're having only create permission in this scenario. So they, even though they have create permission, they cannot access the owner itself. They cannot access the record. So the manager also will not get the access. Okay, in simple terms, manager will have the same access as a owner when they have a grant access using hierarchy, not the permission to create. So here our assumption is manager is at least having all this. When they're saying read, manager is also having a read access to the object. If they don't have a read access to the object, the same set will apply. So even though they are grant access using hierarchy, they cannot access it. Okay, so I'm not complex here. So moving on to the next scenario. So you have a grant using hierarchy, and then same set. Now we are not talking about the manager. So I want to talk about a manual sharing. When you have a manual sharing, so what will happen? Overall, you shared manually, only those users will get. So we are not talking about final result will be same for the owner. So what will happen to the here we'll see no access, only owner and shared users can have a read access. And shared users can have a read and write access. and here. And okay, owner can create a records. No access but can have create record. So they don't have owner and they don't have access, that they cannot share it here. This is actually not possible. Why? Because they don't have access. They cannot share the records with any of the users using a manual sharing. When they don't have access also, the manual sharing is not possible here. So only when owner can see it, then only they can go ahead and share with the users. Then how they're sharing the record based on the sharing level. If they gave a read access, they can share as a read. Based on how they're sharing with the different users, it will dependent on that how you sharing. So let's say if you have a read access and you want to share this record with the other users, again you have only one option as a read. Because you have a read, you cannot share with the read and write. You have only option to share what you have only. Okay. When you have a read, you cannot share with the read and write. You can do with the read. When you have a read write, then only you can share with the other user with the read write access. Okay, and then so is it clear or getting confused? When we having any sharing rules, when we have a sharing rules and you don't have this grant access using hierarchy or manual sharing, what will happen? It's going to be the same everything. So instead of share users, what are all the criteria you're going to share, that is going to be applied to those users. So what will happen was here, it's going to be no access and only owner and shared users. Here also, in this first scenario, you're having a manually shared users. Here, the shared will be calculated by the sharing rules. That is only the difference, nothing else. Okay. So the concept is very simple. So when you doing a sharing the record, to share the record, we share only the read and edit access, nothing else on the record. Remaining everything will be controlled from an object, that is a create delete. That create delete will be once you have a read and edit, on top of that only, based on the permission on the object level you have, you can do that deletion. Okay, that is only the difference. So record level security, even though you set all the security, sorry, you don't have minimum level access on the object level, you cannot access it. So if you, even though in the record levels, sorry, in the record level security, we have, when you're owner means you can do anything because you are owner. You can do read, edit, delete, anything you can do. But it depends on your object level permissions as well. If you are allowed to do that in object level, then only you are allowed to do it. Okay, even though you are getting the access through the as a grant access using hierarchy as a manager, you're processing the record level access. But even though if the logic will be applied as same, the manager, if they have object level permissions, then only they can do anything on the records that are shared with them. So whatever the thing first we explained with the owner, it will be applied to the all users who are getting shared the same record. The thing was, you need to understand how the record is being shared with the user. So When the record level security means you can get the access through ownership or through a grant access using hierarchy, through a manual sharing by some other user, or by sharing rules. Somehow, like any of this means you got the record level access. It doesn't, so you have a record level access captured. Okay. So you have 10 records access. But again, this 10 records access will be controlled by your profile. At least you need a read access, then only you can see this records. If you don't have read access, even though with the record level security you are possessing a 10 records of access, you cannot access them because of object level permissions. If you have a minimum read, even though this 10 records you have a read and write also, because of your object level as only read, you can only read it. And when you have object level as read and write, then you can read and write with this 10 records. And same with the delete and create permissions. It's completely with the object level. Whether you can delete any record or you can create any record, it's not based on your record level security. Create and deletes are completely permissions on your object. And minimum level to see all your record level security is based on your read write. Okay. And one more scenario was you have shared all your 10 records, and you have only read access. This 10 records have read write, then you will be limited to the read write. Similarly, even though on object level you have read write access, but you have shared with sharing rules with only read, then you can again only do a read. That means like you have edit permission on object. That means you cannot edit all the records that you see. It's a combination. So in a simpler way, what is going to be a your table is what is your object level security, and how you are going to be a record level security. Okay. So it's the result will be the combination of this. So first understand how to calculate the record level security. Once you have understand how to define the record level security, then it's going to be a none of it. So just you need to hide everything like this. Once you have record level security, it's going to be repeat every time. So you're going to access anyhow the record you are going to access, then that will be controlled based on your object level permission. Okay. So the exercise I want you to do is define this record level as a read, edit, delete, create, view all, modify all. When you have this one, and what are all the record level security? Record level is going to be read or write or only read. Okay. So when you have this with these combinations, you will get how many combinations you will get? You get 5 and 5 into 10 combinations, and fill what is going to be your result. So do this exercise, and if you have any questions, let me know. So this record level security, what is going to be defined with your all record level securities. Okay. So any questions here?